ALM Standardization as a precursor for data warehousing. Right now, this presentation has been brought to you by the VIVIT Business Intelligence Special Interest Group, and that's led by me, Mr. Oded Tankas. Now, a little bit about myself. I have over 30 years in the ISIT profession, and I'm at Assure in the role of a data scientist, BI analyst, and project manager, and I manage the professional services activities. Today, our guest speaker is Mr. Thomas Lepilampi, and he has vast experience in the subject matter of this presentation, and he is the SDLC and DevOps specialist at Assure. I'll let him introduce himself at length once I pass on the controls over to him. Just a little bit about the housekeeping. Okay, so today's live session is intended for all VIVIT members. The recording will be posted in the webinar section of the VIVIT web-based website, visible for all members. Additionally, today's slide deck and webinar recording will be made available to you. We will send you the link via email once they are posted in the VIVIT website. To enlarge the presentation pane on your screen, just click on the rectangle in the upper right-hand corner of the presentation pane, being pointed to you by the red arrow right here. Okay. If you have any questions as we go along, please type and send them using the Q&A pane on the left side of your screen. Simply type in your question, then click on the Ask button. To ask a question and receive them in your native language, click on the flag in the upper left corner of your screen, which will launch a language selection box. Next, click on the radio button next to your language, and then click on Apply, and you're all set. So let's get started. I will pass this over to Thomas.
Well, thank you very much, Oded. So welcome, everyone. From my side as well. This is Thomas Lepilampi from Assure, and today we're going to talk about ALM, HPE ALM Standardization as a precursor to business intelligence. A couple of words about Assure, our company. Our mission is to enable our clients to have actionable insights across the whole IT landscape. And we have a flagship product, Assure TotalView, that concentrates in advanced analytics over the different levels of the software development lifecycle, starting anywhere from project management to from requirements management to testing, and also to the operations, which currently or these days is more commonly called the DevOps lifecycle. So other tools that we've developed over the years at Assure is the standardization suite that is really the basis of a lot of the process and activities that I'm going to be talking about today. And that will achieve consistent data throughout your ALM projects and enable the BI solution deployment across the DevOps lifecycle. Okay. So let's go forward to the contents of this webinar. So first, I'm just going to give you a data warehousing at a glance, a couple of words about what is data warehousing and what is BI or business intelligence in general. Then some of the HPE ALM standardization cornerstones and a customer use case. So we've done quite a few standardization projects over the years. So I've been at Assure for 10 years now, and during that time, I've been involved in standardization projects and other kinds of ALM development and implementation projects all over the world. So I might say that our company could be one of the leaders in this standardization area in HPQC and ALM. Within the customer use case, we're going to touch enterprise ALM design, planning the implementation project itself, and the standardization in practice. What are the steps to achieve a standardized environment in your ALM, enterprise ALM? Also, a few words about maintaining the data integrity going forwards. So how to keep up with the good quality and how to nurture the standardization culture in your organization. Also, we're going to touch the project results. So how did we do in this particular customer use case? And also discuss the benefits of standardization. So why are we actually doing this? Also, I want to talk about the future. So where are we going with ALM? People might have heard and must have heard about ALM Octane and all the other exciting things that are going on at HPE at the moment. So a few words on those as well. And after that, a Q&A session. So I'm very much looking forward to getting your questions in the Q&A pane. And if we don't have time to answer all the questions within the session, we'll definitely want to provide the answers afterwards, if in any way possible. All right, so welcome again, and here we go. Okay, data warehousing and business intelligence at a glance. So essentially what we want to do is we want to extract data from our source systems into a centralized database, a data warehouse, where we transform and calculate the data. We do our magic within the data to enable better reporting possibilities in our reporting layer, into which we load the data in the end. So BI really is a technology-driven process for analyzing data, presenting actionable information and actionable insights. And what we really want to achieve there is help our senior management and project managers and whoever wants to utilize this information to make better, more informed decisions going forwards, and ultimately achieve better results in your company. And technically, a data warehouse is a centralized repository containing data that is structured in a reporting-friendly way. I mean, if any of us here have been looking at the entity relationship diagram of ALM, with all due respect to HPE, it is pretty complicated. So what we have been doing at the shore over these years is to really take the data from all of these different tables and understand the relations between the tables and create a data warehouse in our Azure Total View product that really makes it reportable in the reporting layer. So that's the transformation that we do before loading the data in the reporting layer. And all of this aims to provide a holistic view of the SDLC lifecycle by combining data also from different sources. So currently we're working on pulling data from Jira and Clarity, ServiceNow, Rally, Urban Code, Jenkins. So the whole DevOps set, we would like to be able to combine the data from all of these tools to create a complete view in your DevOps world. Okay, so let's go forwards. Based on my experience, the standardization cornerstones really are built on these three things. So we have our business rules that we identify, and we want to support the processes in your organization. We want to leverage the functions and capabilities of your HPE ALM. So HPE ALM provides, for an example, the template capability. So a template is a centralized configuration project that houses the enterprise configuration, your fields, your severity and status list values, and all these things that you want to be the same across your enterprise to enable this kind of cross-project reporting and business intelligence in general. So what we really want to do is we want to nurture the relationship of our software development teams and the management that wants the metrics and reporting. So the metrics and reporting requirements sometimes do not transform as clearly into the software development teams as they could, and software development teams might think that the decisions or the configuration setup that is required by the management reports is hindering their daily activities. So for this reason, we want to really identify what we need to standardize and what are the areas where we can give them the freedom to customize their projects as they wish. Okay, so all of these areas we're going to be touching today in this presentation. So why are we really doing this? So the Wild West, as we call it, the before situation in many of the companies that we've been doing these is that they have a lot of difficulties in cross-project reporting. So, and that leads to a bad visibility in release readiness. Many companies have quarterly releases over many projects, and these are kind of enterprise releases, and it's really difficult to get a visibility if we are going to make it in time to release on our quarterly releases. Or if our applications are huge and they're being worked on in multiple projects, we want to know how our application is doing, not just how our individual projects are doing. Essentially leading to better visibility in product quality as well, and really an understanding what is product quality. So without unified terminology, comparing these projects' efficiency requires manual work. You need to have everyone report to you actively without a manager being able to just pull the report themselves. Okay, we have a lot of fluid testing teams in a testing center of excellence. Teams come and go, people come and go. So induction of testing specialists to new projects really takes a lot of time because they need to learn everything over and over again. Not to mention the administration of the ALM environment. Very cumbersome to maintain an environment that is constantly evolving, and whenever you go to an upgrade or a migration to better servers, you face a possible risk because you cannot possibly test all the configurations that you have in your environment. Also, ALM provides a lot of customization and development possibilities. You can do your workflow scripts, and many people we've seen are creating the same things over and over again. And what we want to do is we want everybody to be able to leverage the customized functions and the best practices all over your enterprise ALM. So essentially what we want is organization-wide reporting, better insight, unified terminology, common language for all actors. Your testing center of excellence, we want the specialists to hit the ground running when moving to new projects. And the administration and maintenance, less pain with a clear set of rules. So there's a customer case study. We had an enterprise-level financial company who approached us with this following question. So they were suffering from not having the ability to see where their testing was advancing as a whole. A lot of individual siloed projects, usage models and habits, very little cooperation between these projects. Any kind of governance establishment was really difficult, let alone the BI deployment, because there were no common practices and the data quality was very poor. Similar identical test assets were created everywhere, plans and reports produced in multiple places, and there was a lot of resourcing overhead. They could see it, their IT budget was bulging, and they really wanted to skim some extra fat off that with a centralized governed operation. So what they needed was an enterprise HPE ALM template, and as a technical aspect, and all of their active projects standardized to them. But they realized that writing SQL and having someone run the SQL to actually standardize all those wildly different projects would take possibly years. So as we have a lot of experience from these kind of activities and a toolkit that fits the bill, they approached us and we started off a project. So what was our mission? Our mission was to create an environment that supports company-wide reporting in a data warehouse. And we wanted to establish a unified terminology that ties into existing database in the company. They had an application database where all the different applications and software that they were building had certain names already established, certain codes And this of course was the same thing with defect workflows. So they wanted to have a unified defect workflow so that everybody could know where the critical problems were, and they could compare and pull up data from multiple projects to understand the bottlenecks. And also the encouragement of projects to innovate and customize without risking data quality. We don't want to tie everyone in a tight cage and not take advantage of the vast possibilities of ALM customization. We want to encourage them to do what they do best, innovate and come up with new ideas, and still have the data quality for our BI solutions and common governance. So the factual requirements was to standardize over 600 HPE ALM projects. And we need to standardize them to be able to link to the enterprise template, because HPE ALM needs to have certain technical requirements met before you can link a project to a template project, so-called cross-project customization in HP terms. So this was our task. And while ensuring that the standardization of a single project does not exceed 50 minutes of time. So you can imagine if you want to do this with SQL queries, this would be very difficult. We want to preserve any existing functionalities created in-house. So we really wanted to delve into their workflow scripts and external tools and reporting Excels that utilize the APIs of ALM. And we wanted to add them all into a template and a common list of functions and features, and give the projects the ability to enable or disable them at will. So we didn't want to impose everything on all projects. We wanted to give them the opportunity to choose what they want to use and introduce new functionalities whenever they were ready for it. So the method to achieve all of this was to analyze the variety of data values and configurations as a basis for determining the enterprise standard. So we wanted to know what kind of defect statuses and workflows they were using at the moment, what kind of severities, defect severities they had, test levels and test phases and all these things. So first we analyzed a whole bunch of projects, hundreds of projects, to understand the variety of the values and configurations. Also, very important was to identify the ALM champions in different units in the enterprise. There are always people who are more knowledgeable about how the ALM is used in their organization and what the real requirements for the technical requirements are, both business and technical requirements are for the enterprise template. So that's a very important step, that you identify these people who will champion this usage model and the template while you have already gone away. If you're an ALM consultant, you don't want to stay there forever. You want to enable the customer to actually run by themselves. And for this reason, the ALM champions are key personnel. Also, we want to form a steering group that owns the enterprise ALM usage model. Otherwise, it will get trampled over. So we really want to have a steering group that owns it. And then we would implement the ALM usage model, including the template, immediately in new projects, and in phases. So these 600 projects, we would standardize them one by one, usually over the weekends, say 20 to 50 projects over a weekend. Okay, so let's go forwards. Standardization project structure. So how do we structure a standardization project? So we get rules from business. We get from the administration personnel and the methodologies. Like, for an example, if we want to do agile testing in our ALM, we want to understand what kind of requirements that has for our template. Then we had workshops. About 40% of the project was to analyze and document in the current situation. And whenever we got some insights into what kind of data they had and what kind of varieties they had, we organized workshops. So we had releases and requirements, had test planning and execution, defects and issue management. And after those workshops, we already had some kind of an idea that we could compare to the company metrics and reporting initiatives. It's really important that we take into account what the managers want to see and enable that data collection within the template. So at this point, we start developing the template. It's about 20% of the time we actually develop the template. We create the fields, the values, the workflow scripts, the defect workflows, whatever have you. And then we go to the integrations and software development lifecycle and alignment. So we want to understand the requirements of the integrations and also add those fields, values, and possibilities into the template itself. And then we went to the steering group. And the steering group gave us approval for the usage model 1.0. And then we started deploying it. So deploying it was another 40%. So that's a long time that you actually agree with the people in the projects when could they standardize, because it will take, let's say, an hour or two, 15 minutes for the actual standardization, and then some testing, copying data, whatever have you. It usually takes a bit of downtime for a single project. So we started deploying it, and then we encourage for continuous development. Have your steering group still meet once a month to understand what kind of new requirements you have, whatever upgrades HP has, updates for the software, new ideas from your user groups, form user days, all these kind of fun happenings for HPE ALM community. And it also helps in for them to actually feel like they are a community and not just siloed projects working alone and nobody listening to their great ideas for customization and functionality. So that's a very simple product structure and driven by workshops and a little bit of an idea of how the project time is shared in these different kind of activities. Okay, standardization scope, a couple of words about that. So it's really difficult to have everyone agree on everything at the same time. Even if our reports would require all of this to be standardized, to actually reach consensus in all of your business units is very difficult. With one customer some years ago, quite a few years ago actually, when our process was not so sharp, we spent 2.5 years just discussing the template, and that's way too much. But this is how it was. So my suggestion is that you would take it in phases. First phase, standardize your statuses, your test execution status, your test planning statuses, and especially your defect statuses. Then your systems and applications. So you have your applications and systems recorded somewhere in your systems already. So why not use those codes and unified terminology there? You can leverage, everybody knows that, and just leverage that into your lists in ALM. Have everybody use the same language, and this way in your BI reports, you can compare different reports within an application and development. Releases, if you have enterprise releases, if you have your quarterly releases, those are very important to do in the first phase. And of course, defect severity, because critical defects are the diamonds that we are always searching for in testing. Second phase, you might go to environments, defect categories, test levels and phases, whatever integrations you have to your other systems. And in third phase, there was a lot of dispute actually in this project, whether root cause analysis even should be standardized. When you're doing integration testing versus clear software testing, your root causes are completely different. And which manager really wants to see below the defect category? Defect categories are usually enough. You have a software defect, you have a hardware defect, integration defect, what have you. So root cause analysis is really for the teams and projects themselves to help them understand, where they're lacking, what are the true problems for defects. Maybe standardize them in a smaller scale. Create virtual templates, which I'm going to talk about in just a sec. Okay, so going to the enterprise ALM design, we were balancing between these two approaches. So top-down approach is to have a consistent way of usage across the ALM landscape to enable management reporting, metrics, and BI deployment and implementation in general. You might have regulatory compliance. So your ALM usage model needs to comply to regulations set by financial industry, banks, whatever. It's very important that you have this kind of configuration that supports this compliance. From bottom-up approach, you want to ensure the best possible usability for your end users. You don't want them to lose many hours a day just by filling fields that are not relevant. You really want to understand what you need and provide the configuration for that and clear freedoms for them to still have the ALM usable and not have them lose their minds. So that's really retaining a flexible working environment and supporting the customer's functionalities and project-specific configurations for them to have their productivity at max all the time. So when we planned and implemented the enterprise ALM, we thought about our metrics and reporting. We thought about our process initiatives. Agile was a big thing. DevOps is a big thing. We need to take into account what kind of requirements those would have in our ALM template. And just user requirements. We had our workshops from which we collected a bunch of requirements for user stories. We collected over 100 user stories just from the users themselves. And this is also very important as a cultural aspect. You need to listen to your users and give them the possibility to talk when designing their own tool that they will be using in their everyday life. So an HPE ALM enterprise template, what is it built off? It's data fields, your severities, your applications, your test levels and phases, your list values, your highs, medium, lows, and a regression testing and whatever. Permission groups. You want to have a set of permission groups to understand that people cannot do too much and, they're able to do everything that they can. Status transitions. You need to be able to make sure that people are not closing defects just because they want to close defects. They need to have a certain role to be able to close a defect, and it must go through some sort of review before you can actually close it. So you want to enforce this. Business rule support. Whatever rules from your business come from your business, you need to support them. And this ALM template will provide the enterprise configuration. It ensures that all data needed for the BI, for the company analytics are collected, and it provides the regulatory compliance. So another thing that we implemented there are something we call virtual templates. So these are just pre-configured empty projects, empty ALM projects that are linked to the template, and they are used for basis of live project creation. So these are not live projects. These are something that have additional configurations on top of the enterprise template. For a digital bank, for an example, or ATM testing, which is like more hardware, integration or real-time machinery testing, those have completely different lists and application or module lists or a lot of configurations are completely different, and they don't want to share them. You don't want to be scrolling down 100 different modules to find your own modules. And I myself don't like lists that are structured hierarchically. I'd rather have my workflow script take care of it. My workflow script should understand who I am and show me the list based on the information that it gets from my business line. So from these virtual templates, we actually create the live projects. So we have our own project 1 and 2, and we have our agile projects, our waterfall projects, our integration projects, what have you. And these are the projects that are actually used for testing. So the enterprise template and the virtual templates, they are really just for configuration needs. And these are the these projects in the bottom are the ones that we are actually using in our everyday life. So based on this, we created a project topology, and that included also folder structures that we needed, etc. In addition to that, we established the governance process. So we had our ALM steering group comprised of multiple business unit heads that are deciding how to use ALM and why to use ALM in the way that it's used in their organization. And then we had the project admins, and we gave them clear opportunities to administrate the system in certain ways. And of course, a process, how often does a steering group come together, and then how do admins share information between different organizational units. Okay, so the steps in practice were analyzing current situation. So we have our configuration variety analysis. We have our data integrity quality index. So one of our tools, the data standardizer, it really provides a possibility to give a quality index for each one of your projects. Also, we got the user stories from the community, so we understood what the users really want. And we came up with the current state analysis document, and we reviewed this and came back to our steering group and say, okay, this is the current situation, and we want to start building a template. So we started to prepare the usage model. So we wanted to achieve template readiness. We wanted to define the process in general, how to use ALM as an enterprise tool, and what kind of freedoms could we give to individual projects to explore and create custom functionalities and so on. And of course, we want the alignment to metrics. So we got our enterprise metrics. We defined them on a very clear level, and we made sure that our template catered for those metrics. And then we started mapping the existing projects to the new template. So this is quite a task. If you think about 600 projects, we want to map each field into a corresponding field in the template. So we take a project and we see, okay, the database identification code for each field might be completely different across the different projects. And for ALM templates to work, they must be the same. If anybody knows, they are called something like DG user 01. So if DG user 01 is application in one project, it must be application in any other projects as well. So in this way, we mapped all these fields in the current projects to the template to ensure that we can run the cross-project customization from the HPE ALM template. So also this applies to values. So if you have bug severities, defect severities that are high, medium, low in one project and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in another, then our tools will enable you to map those without having to have Excel or anything like this. Very intuitive screens for the users to use. But still, 600 projects needed to be mapped to a template. So it's a pretty daunting task to start doing if you don't have a good process in place. Same thing with user roles. We needed to understand what kind of user roles there existed and then map existing users to the new roles. Many times we had people in multiple roles currently. We had our developer testers and admin viewers and all this. So it's quite a task to start cleaning those, and but it really pays off because a lot of the problems that arise in ALM usage is because people have too little access rights or too much access rights, and they are able to delete stuff that they shouldn't or change some stuff that they shouldn't. Like field values, for example. You don't want to want projects to be starting to change their defect status lists or severity lists. So this is really why the user roles are very important to have in control. Custom workflow scripts as well. We want to be able to preserve everything that people have created in the past. Then we execute the standardization. We actually use those mapping files we created in the map existing to new step and just run them against the databases themselves. So what our tools do, they actually change the databases in the back end to reflect the template, and that enables the cross-product customization in ALM templates to be run. And that implements the ALM template into the projects without losing any of the important data within the projects themselves. And of course, we want to support the community in this activity. So whenever we come up with the new template and on Monday people come to work, usually they ask, what happened? Things have changed a bit. So even though we've sent all the documents and links and we've set up sessions to explain these changes, they still need additional support. So our standardization toolkit, we provide a project analysis process for investigating the current situation, and then our project harmonizer for mapping existing data fields to template fields, and our data standardizer for scrubbing the data values in list fields to ensure data integrity. So we created this toolkit like 10 years ago, almost 8 years ago, but we didn't see a huge demand until, say, 3-4 years ago. People started to really wake up to standardization, and a lot of the figures at the moment say in BI, 59% of IT managers are actually thinking about going to, invest into BI a lot, and only 10 to 20% of the data that people currently have are used in centralized reporting. So there's really a lot of benefit, a lot of activity in this area. So we're happy to have to be able to provide this kind of possibility for you here in Vivid too. Maintaining the standardization, so best practices to define clear policies in ALM usage and data collection, and provide a clear feedback channel for end user communities. You have to have the champions that collect the information from the end user communities and bring them in to the centralized steering group. Periodical workshops to gather and review user stories. Really let the people speak, listen to them, and this will pave your way into to a much better governance and ability to create business intelligence reports. Assign clear roles for data ownership. So data needs to be owned. Somebody needs to be able to answer if something can be changed. And this will also support the culture of continuous improvement in standardization. Okay, so some of the project results from this customer case. So all of these steps led into HPE ALM usage model that was implemented with an active maintenance process. So we didn't want to just push the model there and go away. We wanted to give them appropriate documentation and processes to really keep this up going forwards. Because sometimes we've seen that we implement standardization now, and after 2 years, our customers call us back. Please come back because our standardization, our reports are broken, and standardization is not working anymore. So we really need to have an active maintenance process. So we designed and developed one enterprise template and an enterprise defect workflow. It had a couple of different flavors. There's a light workflow for smaller projects and a more detailed workflow for projects that have hundreds of users and really a lot of activity going on in them, and regulatory compliance and these kind of things. Also, with a lot of vendors. If you have a lot of vendors, you might be better off enforcing a stricter defect workflow. Internal projects, then you might be better off with a light workflow to really speed up the activities in the project itself. 3 business unit specific virtual templates were designed and developed. So software application development in general, that was a generic enterprise template. Then we had a clear requirement for integrations development. This was a lighter template that had different kinds of root cause analysis, different kinds of defect workflow, something that is a little bit lighter and fit to that purpose better. And also something for the future. There was a lot of need for agile projects. Even if it's as a buzzword, it's been around for over a decade. I haven't really seen in enterprise projects, I have not seen that many true agile projects. And even more so, we have a lot of hybrid projects. Something that has a bit of agile, a bit of waterfall. Maybe you have an inception bid period where you do your design, like functional specification, your design, your requirements. And then when you have your sprint readiness, then you start your agile sprints. And then you run your sprints until you hit system testing. And then you're back in waterfall again. You do your system testing and your user acceptance testing and release process in waterfall mode. So these kind of projects, we need to be able to cater also in our ALM. So to be able to turn things on or off, now we are agile, now we are waterfall. That was possible by creating specific workflow scripts that enable these kind of turbo buttons and or levers that you could pull to be able to go agile and back. We really achieved business intelligence data warehouse implementation readiness. So we had our defect statuses, severities, and categories standardized. We have our test levels, test design and execution statuses, as well as requirement categorization and risk assessment. So these are where the areas that we were able to touch. We did not go to root cause analysis and environments or platforms or priorities. We just didn't have bandwidth for that. What was still spent 8 months. It is a real project. You shouldn't think that you can do this in just a couple of weeks. It definitely takes a lot of time to design the enterprise template, because when you implement it, you don't want to be starting to change it real soon. Of course, you can change it. It's easy to use the ALM templates to just push changes from a centralized configuration template. But as a reference, another project that I was talking about without a proper process and a proper toolkit actually took us 2.5 years. And still afterwards, they didn't really start using the ALM templates, and they just had a basic project that they were copying to create other projects. You could guess what happened. After 2 years, they contacted us again, and we went back to standardize some more. So it's really, really good to use the HPE ALM template functionality and tested and tried process and a toolkit to really do the best, make the best out of this standardization initiative. So what we really want is clear standards, and these clear standards also give our projects clear degrees of freedom. They know what they can do, they know what they can change, and they still don't break the data quality, they don't break the template, they don't break your reports. And this enables company-wide reporting, better control for project admins, dynamic custom feature sets that leverage anything that you've done in your company by now, methodology transitions to agile, whatever in the future we might have, single-click template updates. You want to add a new severity level for your defect? Just add it to your template, push the cross-project customization to your projects, and you're ready. All in all, a lower maintenance effort, total cost of ownership for your ALM. Okay, so what about the future? HPE ALM Octane. So I've been studying this software offering for a couple months now, and it's very interesting. I actually prefer it to Jira, Rally, or whatever, because it really also provides you with testing capabilities. It's more development-oriented management platform compared to ALM, but still it provides you everything that you kind of know and love in ALM while nodding to that Jira direction. HPALM.net, which is the ALM that we know now, the XQC or TD or whatever it was called in early days, is there to cover the existing user base and also to integrate with Octane. So I wouldn't honestly just replace ALM right now with Octane. It needs to evolve just a little bit. And currently ALM is good. It's a stable, mature tool. user communities everywhere around development and operations, DevOps, and testing and analytics, they continue to revolve, solve, and evolve. And something that I like is everything will be code. In near future, we will have strict formats of description of our test cases, for an example. And whenever you have, for an example, a Gherkin format, as Octane provides you in your test case, it provides you keyword-based automation readiness. So the test cases you write today could be automated in the future without you just having to do anything. Just put the framework under it, and you're ready for automation. So this helps us avoiding vague descriptions in our test assets and give us more reusability for regression, integration, testing, variants, because manual testing is not going anywhere. No matter how much we automate our testing, there still needs to be testing for Sarbanes-Oxley, financial area. There's a lot of manual testing that we still do and will keep on doing. So we need to understand the business goals behind our initiatives. And we encourage you to start your journey into advanced analytics with our flagship product, the Azure TotalView. So email me, thomas.leppilampi@azure.net. Go to our website, azure.net. And I'd really like to thank Vivit, Anne-Marie, and Oded to let me share my views here, let me share my experiences. So, I'm ready for the Q&A. Oded, take it away.
Great. So first of all, thank you very much, Thomas. It was a fascinating talk. We do have some very interesting questions here, and let's get started. When you showed the slide on standardization steps in practice, and you showed the various steps of analyzing the current situation, preparing the usage model, mapping to the new, and so on and so forth, one of the questions was, do you use multiple domains, one for master repository of requirements and test, and a second domain for individual projects which sync to the master repository?
That's a very interesting question, because that was a little bit outside of our scope for now, but this work definitely creates a good background to enable that. So I like the idea of centralized repositories for like what I like to call application-centric testing, if it's applications that you are testing, so that you would have an application-centric repository for your test cases and requirements. But we didn't do it in this project. But definitely that's a possibility that this standardization initiative enables you to do. Because if you don't do this, then you cannot sync your test assets, at least very easily. I mean, you can map everything and, between your projects, but that would be a configuration hell. So, yes, definitely doable.
Okay, excellent. Next question. When using multiple templates, do you find it difficult to maintain the templates, and how to apply them in the projects?
This is if you use multiple ALM templates, yes, you kind of have to separate your projects. These projects are of this template. Those projects are of that template. You cannot customize your projects from multiple templates. This is why we introduced the virtual templates. So the virtual templates are also share the same configuration from the master template, but they have some additional configurations that are also pushed into the projects as they are being created from these virtual templates. Now, there's a drawback to it, because you cannot push from the virtual templates onward to the end projects. This is a downside. We would love to have a possibility to actually be able to push the enterprise template from the master, and then again, if you want to have the organizational virtual templates change any configurations in them, we would like to push the additional configurations from those, but that's not technically possible at the moment. So in that way, the organizational virtual templates still could remain a bit of a Wild West in practice.
Excellent. Next question. Have you ever heard of a golden project? And if so, how did you utilize it in your ALM configuration?
A golden project, yeah, I think not sure if that refers to a master template or if it refers to a original golden project that people have been using in the organization to create most of the projects in the history. Because we definitely recognize these projects in our standardization initiatives. We come to the customer and they say, this is the project where most of our projects originated from. So that is the first project we analyze. And then what we have a set of tools at the shore, and this is actually not really a part of our paid offering. We have a lot of little utilities that we use when we go to projects, or if companies buy our tools, that's like something extra that we like to give away, that we can compare a project's configuration to multiple other projects. So in this way, we can see what are the varieties, how much do the other projects differ from this golden project that used to originate a lot of the original projects in the kind of Wild West in original ALM environment.
Excellent. Another question, somewhat different in nature. How can I identify all test cases that are failed that are associated with a closed defect?
That would be a cross filter. Yeah, ALM has a lot of cross filter capabilities. So when you open up your filter, you can see which test instances are linked to a certain closed defect, and by those test instances, you can find your test cases. So, yeah, you can. Whoever asks, just send me some email, thomas.leppelampi@assure.net, and I'll be happy to discuss more. Always down to discuss some ALM challenges with anyone.
Excellent. Next question. How many people or resources are on your team to build and to configure ALM?
That's a good one. It changes quite a lot. In one of the standardization projects that I've been in, we did it with 5 people, just 5 people, a couple of business analysts, a couple of developers, and then a kind of a project manager / visionary / ALM specialist. So we could do it like that, but this is like a ultra inducing team over half a year. There's a lot of air miles and a lot of sleepless nights. So I'd recommend something like 10, 12 people, where quite a few come from the business side, because without business side we cannot know what they want. And if we just try to come up with something and then we go back and forth to really understand what they need, a lot of time is lost. And this was the case in the original project that I referred to. In the last project we did, we in the beginning identified the ALM champions, and our team was somewhere closer to 20 people. And we went to those ALM champions managers and said, we want their allocation for this project for at least 4 hours a week. And those 4 hours a week took us a long way. It was not much from them, from their daily life, but it took us a long way. We didn't have to go back and forth. So in a sense, we did it in an agile way. We had a product owner and a Scrum Master in place, so we could bounce off ideas very quickly.
Wonderful. 3 more questions. How do you handle updates to the virtual template? You can create a new ALM project from a virtual ALM project, but not update it later on.
Yeah, I actually answered this before in the other question where I was talking about the templates in general. So unfortunately, you cannot update from virtual templates. You could. Well, you cannot. I mean, a consultant answer is like, oh, everything is possible. But yeah, technically, this is not possible. You just have to have a process to manage it.
Next question, is Assure free for ALM customers?
We provide paid tools. So our toolkit is for sale. So check us out, assure.net. So a lot of ALM customers have acquired our tools in the past, but yeah, unfortunately, not all of them are free. Some of them you have to pay for, but we have a lot of goodies in our bag when we go to this project.
Okay, the next question. What enterprise sizes are these solutions made for?
Well, it can go up to anything, really. I mean, biggest customers we've had have 2,000 concurrent users, thousands of projects, maybe 1,000 active projects at the same time. But smaller ones maybe have 50 to 100 active projects. But smaller than that, I haven't seen too many challenges in terms of standardization when people have less than 50 active projects. But it depends a lot. Some people have a lot of data in one project. So there's one, just because we are running out of time, so one question that I actually see here, the virtual template, one more thing, it really is for easier configuration of your organization-specific projects. So if you create projects from your enterprise template, you always have to configure your organizational specific lists and fields and maybe even admin users, maybe even folder structures. So you can create folder structures that are already there. You can create a lot of things that are ready for that organizational unit. You can create test design step templates, defect templates that are ready for people to use. And I don't see these things changing that much over time. So yeah, that was the question for answer to the last question that I saw there.
Wonderful. Okay, I think that's all the time that we have for the questions and answers. If you still need some clarifications, please either contact me at oded.tankus@assure.net. I'm the special interest group leader for the BI, so you can also contact me through the Vivid website. Or you can contact Thomas at thomas.lepilampi@assure.net. Now, we do have an EMEA Software Customer Forum 2017 in Dublin from the 16th to 19th of May. So please register now. You see here the contents of this forum. I won't read this through to you right now. You will see this on the presentation that that will be posted in the Vivid forum. But please be aware that there is this event, and please register. So basically, thank you very much for participating. And thank you for your questions. And again, if you have other questions or other clarifications about the Standardization Toolkit from Assure, please give us a call, contact us, and thank you again very much for your time. Anne-Marie, over to you.